put your plays up on the Sports Goombahs website. Give us a call. Email me, cashking@yahoo.com. Call the smoke phone, which is hooked up all week long if you want to leave a message. We don't answer it except on show times. Anyway, next week, NFL, first game I got is the New England Patriots are hosting the New York Jets. Going slow motion. New York Jets. All right, so Patriots are -9 right now, and it's Monday. That could change. That could go up higher. The under and over is 46. I like the Patriots laying the 9, and I like the game to go over 46. I don't know how Rex Ryan is the coach of the New York Jets. I don't know how this guy maintains his coaching ability. The guy does nothing. Tom Brady's he's like like I said, don't spit in the wind. You don't pull the cape off the old Lone Ranger. You don't mess around with Jim. Something like that. Well, you don't mess around with Tom. Okay, they ticked him off last week, and he's now he's 2 games in a row. He's kicking ass and taking names. So I like the New England Patriots next week -9. I like the total on that one too, to 46 for it to go over. Next game I'm looking at since last week, Chicago, Miami. Miami secondary is terrible. I think they're terrible. I don't care what their stats say. I saw what happened to them yesterday. I like the Chicago Bears laying the 3. I want the side total on this too. I think the under and over this game could be 49, 50, I think. But I like Chicago, whatever the side total is on this one as well. So I'll lay the 3.5, and I like the side total there. Late game, Andy Reid's going to San Diego. They come off the bye. They play yesterday. KC, I think KC was on the bye, B. No? I didn't play yesterday. I don't think Kansas City played yesterday. I think you want to check that. I don't remember hearing Andy Reid's name or nothing about Kansas City. I might be wrong. I have to
possibly
check. Yeah. Anyway, they're in San Diego next week. This game is 44. I expected to see it 50. When I saw the 44, I'm like, wait a minute. Is that just me being sucked in, or is that a mistake? It's a mistake. I think this game's going to go over. There's going to be a lot of scoring in this one. It's my thought. It's my feeling. These are my games. They're free. They're for you. And listen, if you're paying your bookie,
it ain't our fault.
And remember, too many plays lose too many ways. And that's why we've cut down our picks during the week. And you got to log on. We give them, maybe we don't. We'll see. You log on. 6 o'clock every night is usually when you'll get our picks. So let's go over one more time. I got the New England Patriots laying the 9. I like the over in that game as well. And I have Chicago Bears -3. And look for their side total. I'm very interested in their side total. That's the side I think I like the most. Whatever that's going to be. It's going to be 20, 21, 22. Nah, it should be 25 or so. And the other one is Kansas City is in San Diego, like the over 44. And that's our pick, and they're brought to you by Sir Dustless and SirDustless.com. Check them out at 888-336-1770. 888-336-1770. Sir Dustless Floor Finishers and Installers. All right, B. Let's get back to the NFL. Do we finish up on that stuff? Yeah, pretty much got. I want to talk about, before we go over to talk a little MMA. NFL overtime rules blow, man. I mean, come on. I understand it, but I'm not sure if it warrants being fair or not, for the most part. I understand, okay, you can't kick a field goal in the first possession to win the game, and if you do, the other team scores a touchdown, they get the win. By the time they get done playing all this, just play a whole quarter of sudden death. Make it the whole quarter. I mean, and don't do sudden death. Just play the whole extra quarter.
And see what happens.
You know what I mean?
Odds are you're only going to get 1 point anyway.
Right. And
one score anyway.
You play the whole thing with the field goal. I mean, you kick it off, you play the whole – who cares who gets a field goal touchdown? I mean, the fact that if you kick a field goal, it's not a win. So what I'm thinking is play the whole period. Play the whole period. And at the end of the period, if there's no score, so you play a 5th period of football. That's all.
Same thing as hockey or extra innings.
Yeah, but in hockey, don't they play until somebody scores?
No,
they play a full period.
They played a 5-minute overtime. Okay. They go to that stinking shootout.
Oh yeah.
Don't get them started with the shootout. Freaking shootout. Well, it's already started with the shootout already in NHL. Too many times already. So I think they got to work on that overtime rule. I don't like it at all. It doesn't make any sense to me. It makes sense to the NFL because they need to get a winner, and they figure here's a way to definitely get one quick.
They didn't, though.
They didn't.
End up having a tie, though. Because your talent sucks at certain points. Although
I say that about kickers this year are really kicking the ball, man. Every game, they're drilling 50-yarders. There's about 5 or 6 kickers in the NFL knocking down 50-yarders. You know,
50-plussers.
50-plussers, yeah. It's like not a big deal anymore. It's about time. You figure, the way football and their technology, it seems to me that the field goal kicking is going backwards. If you think about it. When we were kids, they went straight on kickers. Field goals were nothing. 30, 40 yards, boom, boom, boom. They missed them too many times. When these soccer-style guys started coming in the league and doing all that stuff to the ball, they kick it farther for sure when they do get it, but they got to get it. And there's so much, I think there's so much more of a chance of messing that kick up coming in soccer-style than it is straight on.
Laces out. Well, and you look, and they're it's all about where they're on the field. I got to put a little hook on it. I got to put a little fade on it.
And then you got win.
And I don't know. Well, when we were growing up, remember when we were growing up, there was a hell of a lot of stones.
I had Tom Dempsey. He had a metal foot. He could have a real foot, man. And he held the record for 30 years? Until who broke it? Prater. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Who doesn't have a job? And Tim Tebow should be paying him?
He is. He's Tim Tebow's press guy now.
He should be. Tebow should give him something to do. This is my guy, right? That's my guy. Forget the Lord. I got my guy right there, because that's the meal ticket. It's funny, Tim Tebow. Every show I got to mention for something even stupider than stupid. Unbelievable. I want to talk about before we get. I don't know what a face mask penalty is in the NFL anymore. After watching the Eagles game, I don't know what a face mask penalty is. I don't know if the offensive guy can do it, the defense, and now if it goes out of bounds and you do it, it's not a penalty. That happened twice yesterday.
The one I know. I saw the second. I guess the second one, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, you know what? I don't think they called it because he had his hand up and it looked like it was pulling it, but it was so hard. So, but there obviously had to have been one angle where you looked at it and you could see it was a face mask because all of a sudden you heard the crowd react to it. It was all up there and all of a sudden it was like, oh, and you hear the whole roar of the crowd. They were all pissed off. And you knew right away. It was like, oh, well, maybe it was a face mask. Because every angle they showed on TV that I saw, it didn't look like a face mask. I hated to say it. When Shady got taken down out of bounds, it didn't look like a face mask. It looked like his arm was up in the way. And I really didn't see Shady protest too much, like looking for something to make it more out of what it was. So I'm guessing it wasn't.
Yeah, the game was what it was. You'd be bitching about that stuff. But, I want to take a shout out to my man, Kevin Dock. I feel for you, man. I really do. Kevin Dock. Steve Austin's here. And Steve, tell everybody about your dojo, where it's at, and give a little plug there. So
what's up, man? How you been?
Good to see you. Thanks for coming back.
Sorry, I couldn't get in here in a while.
You're a busy guy. You got the new dojo. You got your big time out there. You're all over Facebook. I see people running down the streets with your shirts on and everything.
Yeah, right now I'm getting the new building ready in Southampton.
Okay.
Right off Industrial Boulevard, Gravel Hill.
Little technical problems with the city or township down there.
We were, but not anymore.
Everything's
good. We should be in there hopefully in December now. 8,000 square feet. Got about 5,000 square feet of warehouse that we have to work with. So that's
a lot of square footage.
Yeah, lots of mats. We're gonna have like an actual gym for strength and conditioning. I have a couple personal trainers that work for me that are gonna be running their clients out of there. This way, everybody can get the fitness that you need in one spot.
Yeah, I'm waiting for you to open up so I can start my comeback.
You say that now.
My 51-year-old comeback.
Everybody's all excited.
You want to see me work that speed bag in there? Let me tell you something.
I know you still got it. You got it. For about 30 seconds, and then
no, Steve, I'm doing 3-4 minutes, stop, start. Now I'm going backwards before hitting it with my head a couple times. Doing some of that Ray Leonard stuff.
Probably really good with that part. Yeah.
Steve, last week MMA Jay called us, and him and I got in a conversation about the MMA with concussions and the violence. Now I mentioned violence to you on Facebook, and you laughed at me.
It's a fight.
It's a fight, yeah. But let me explain myself.
Please, okay? I was a little curious when he got that. I was like, what do you want to talk about? He's like, the violence and the fighting. And I'm like,
I should have said the vulgarity, not the violence.
Vulgarity? What, are they cursing now too?
Listen.
He means the extra damage, like eyeballs hanging out, shit like that. That's what he's talking about.
Last week, MMA Jay, he sent me a picture of the guy, and I saw it, and his eye was hanging out of his head, so to speak. And there's another one, too, which what I saw afterwards. The guy really looked like the eye was hanging out.
Yeah.
My point being is that with the concussions and stuff like this, an MMA guy, a UFC fighter, 25 years from now, who can't walk, talk, or think right decides he wants to sue Dana White and the crew or go after them just like the NFL players do? Do they have – you never hear of this concussion stuff. And there's got to be concussions in MMA fighting. I mean, boxing –
there is.
Yeah.
And usually when a fighter gets knocked out, he has to take about 30 days out, sometimes up to 60 days without taking a fight and being in the gym. And they usually have to get cleared and certified by a doctor. With that laceration on the forehead, no matter where you get cut on the head, it's going to bleed. You have a lot of blood vessels in your head that bleed tremendously. The littlest cut, you're going to have a face full of blood. Right. That's usually why they stop the fight if a cut is above the eyes, because the blood is, blinding you.
Yeah, in your face. You
it's not because of, sanitary reasons or anything else. It's simply because now you can't see.
Right. So my whole thing is that, you talk about the concussions, but I look at the sport itself, and once they get entangled, the whole martial arts, all your credibility as all your teachings seem to be gone. It becomes elbow to the forehead, to the eye, to the face. How much you can smash, how hard you can get the elbow in. Now I see why the Gracie's backed out of this thing, because the gi's not in play anymore. Obviously,
well, it's a lot of things. I mean, you think like Gracie Jiu-Jitsu was meant to defend themselves against most martial arts one-on-one, hand-to-hand. If you don't know jiu-jitsu and I do, I have an upper hand. It's knowledge is power. When it started becoming rules, weight classes, and things like that, taking out the aspect of the realistic, fight, everybody's trained nowadays. You have almost all fighters are well-rounded, stand-up wrestling, throws, takedowns, and jiu-jitsu on the ground. So it's kind of like you got a lot of well-rounded fighters now. So you don't have that aspect where you got this one guy coming in who knows more than everybody else now. So it's a slightly different game in MMA now. And in my opinion, it's still an infant sport. Right. You're still looking at the statistic rates of what it's going to be long time. Muhammad Ali, he's prime, candidate for being punched in the head too many times and seeing what happens long period.
Yeah, and he gloated.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, we always hear the stories of what in Rocky 2, that whole scenario.
Yeah, he wasn't allowed to fight anymore.
Yeah, well, that whole scenario was based off of, what was it, Foreman and Ali? That whole thing where let him punch me in the head until he punches himself out. I know I can take it.
There was always the controversy. Okay, so in MMA, you have more body shots, you have more leg kicks, you have more grappling, wrestling. So it's not just being punched to the face for 12 rounds. And once the guy's knocked down, there's no 10 count. That was always like the argument, is that giving the person a 10 count, they're still dazed. The second knockout is what really, rattles them. And you don't have that in MMA as much. Usually when a guy goes down, sometimes they're stopping them a little too early.
It seems like either they're letting it go too much or not stopping it at all. You know what I mean?
It really is. And there's times where I watch fights, I'm like, wow, the guy got like an extra 3-4 shots in there before the ref called it. And then there's times like you see a guy get clipped, and I've been clipped before too, where it's like a 2-second daze, and then you're right back into it.
Yeah. Oh, he got me good.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, oh shit. All right, cool.
I was trying to look up to see when's the last time somebody died in the ring. And I think you have to go back a while. Actually, it's been the ratio was real good. I mean, one or two.
It was interesting looking up statistics between injuries in sports. I was trying to find a lot, and I found this one site where it was talking about the 11 most dangerous sports, and they were even say on the front page, they were like, most people automatically think MMA and race car driving, and they're like, they're actually not even on the list. Compared to what's reported.
I thought it was going to be soccer. Because you hear, well, nowadays, especially with young girls,
you got weapons, cue.
Well, especially nowadays with young girls, they see a lot of torn knees because they're just doing stuff that generally the women didn't.
I was really surprised.
For.
One of the two highest were basketball and bicycling, like actually cycling on the road. They were saying, they were saying basketball. There's a lot of injuries in basketball that's reported. Same thing with softball.
Well, I think you go more towards the collegiate and high school with the heart problems. I've heard every now and then you read something in the paper about an athlete or a basketball or even football player passing out or dying on the court because of a heart problem. NBA is so monitored that you can't even get away with that. It's very few and far between. You don't even see injuries like that in the end any sport anymore. When it comes to the interior system,
any full contact sport, you're at the risk of injuries. It doesn't really matter what it is.
Impact.
Yeah.
Impact is.
And I was even looking up the injury rates with CrossFit, and that was extremely high. I was really, I was surprised. They were saying like it's like 73% chance you're going to get injured.
Well, it's because you're generally out of shape and you're trying to get into shape.
And that could also be like, improper personal training. Now that CrossFit's such a fad, you have a lot of people that are just opening up everywhere. I mean, I've seen them. Everywhere you go in our area, you see a CrossFit sign to some school now. The same thing happened with jiu-jitsu and MMA once it was.
It's the stuff. It's just like
once it hit mainstream. Basically.
Yeah, it really was.
What was that exercise stuff that the women were all doing? That was real big.
Zumba,
right?
Yeah, that's still kind of.
It is, but this is starting.
Yeah.
But you know what? I know those girls who do Zumba are now it's all CrossFit. That's all they're talking about.
Yeah.
Come on down, Mitch. Come on down. It's 7:30 in the morning in a warehouse somewhere. 7:30 in the morning. I got sleep problems here.
Yeah, I need to sleep.
Yeah, 8 o'clock doesn't even sound good to me.
Right.
But CrossFit. That's the.
But like I said, MMA
it's all ages too
yeah.
with that. It's a multi-age type.
Well,
of
and
workout.
actually, when I was looking it up, a lot of kids are injured. More youth is injured than actual athletes.
They don't stretch. They don't practice. They just go on the field and play.
It's a lot of elements in the recipe there that can cause for things to go wrong.
Don't you think that MMA, even the UFC, which is the biggest brand of MMA, which where all the money is, why wouldn't you cover the head? Why don't you see the gear that you and I wore coming up in this stuff, and it doesn't protect you.
Well, if you look at when boxers are training, and even most MMA fighters, when you're in the school training, you're wearing headgear. Right. Now for the fight, it's a little different.
Well, listen, I know you get hit, you wear this headgear like we wear for martial arts, and you get pounded on it enough times, you're going to go down. It's going to hurt you without getting the skin cut and the blood splatter.
Yeah.
Now I know the blood is money. The blood is the sport. The blood is TV. We love blood.
We see red.
Jean-Claude Van Damme blood sport there, baby.
We see red. We get excited.
American loves blood unless it's their own. That's it. Bottom line, we love to see blood. Horror movies, whatever. Even on TV now, they got surgeries on some of these shows you're watching. I can't even watch them. Come on, But that's the whole thing. The blood leads to what's worse. When you make an impact and there's blood spewing all over the place, the impact was hard, and that's concussion wise. That's future injury. That could be something that could come back to you 8 years from now.
Well, that's another reason why most athletes aren't athletes after a certain time. You look at I'm surprised how many hockey players are so young now. Like I went to a game a few weeks ago, and they're like, oh yeah, most of the players out there are probably like 18. Right. And I was like, Jesus, man. And the same thing's happening with MMA. Like I get guys that come in that are in their 30s. I'm going to be 33. I'm too old to fight now. That's just the way it is, and I get guys who are older than me. Hey, I want to train. When can I fight? Right. And I'm like, dude, you're trying to go into a professional sport.
Like there's not a 50-year-old.
No. Now,
this ain't the senior PGA tour here, okay?
Now, if you want that, you go into the jiu-jitsu tournaments. There's age brackets for everybody there. And then that's where you see a lot of the fighters kind of migrate to, is back to the roots of jiu-jitsu. You look at Meta Morris is a big one who's trying to bring in a lot of the fighters now. I think Rory McDonald's getting ready to do Meta Morris 5. Right. And then you get guys who just keep doing it. Rich Franklin, he doesn't really fight that much anymore, but he just got his black belt. You
said something about the reason that the elderly stay in sports, so to speak, over 33, it's the money. Yeah, it's all about the money. I mean, with staying in too long. Back in the old days, we remember players when they were 32 years old, a running back in the NFL was done. Yeah. Okay, Jim Brown done. He could still play, but back in the 70s and 80s, that was the end of a player's until contracts became a way of life for these athletes, and there's nothing left for them to hang on. Yeah. Right, they got to hang on as long as they can and stockpile, because what are they going to do afterwards? Because you're devoting so much of your life to your sport. You're out of the spotlight then. Some of the baseball players back in the 50s used to have other jobs. They did other things. In the wintertime, they had real jobs. Now it's like for a fighter, if it's a successful fighter, they go open up a school, a gym, or go work for somebody. So it's the same thing. I think it's very common in most sports. Yeah. You're in your, that's why it's called your prime. Yeah. Right. Exactly. And I think that's changed the prime. Yeah. I don't think a lot of people out there, the fans, or even people who are ignorant to the sport of MMA that are just getting introduced to it, don't realize the type of training that those fighters put themselves through. Yeah. You're basically putting yourself through hell, because you don't have a team to rely on. You don't have, anywhere from 10 to however many people on your team at the moment to help participate in what's going on. It's you
for all those rounds and no one else.
Yep.
And like we were saying earlier, if you come to the table unprepared, it's going to be a bigger ass whooping than what happened yesterday.
Yeah. Back to my original point was, and the concern, just I'm looking at stuff. You know, you look at all the other sports trying to protect their participants or their entertainment or their acting. They're actors. Athletes are athletes. That's what they are. They're actors without scripts. That's all. And some of them have scripts. Who knows?
Yeah, you know, it seems like it nowadays,
right.
Especially you know, you got all these feuds going on in the MMA thing.
Yeah, well, MMA. You know, I like the MMA. When you and I were both training back together, when they had the characters, much like the poker. Remember the poker had characters?
That's what I wasn't crazy about it. It's the WWE effect.
But you were more into the actual. Me, I was an old guy trying to get an education.
Yeah.
You know, didn't know I'd last that long. But
it was all. You got to look at it too. You have a sport that you're trying to market, and that's the best way to do it. You know, it's an age-old thing. If you can create drama, if you can create feuds are big. If you don't, if you know, like you know, the Giants Eagles,
it makes money for rematches. You know, when they say, oh, so and so number 3, the third time they fought,
Pacquiao, whatever. You know, that's the big one that pops in my head. You know,
everybody wants to see it. I mean, they're talking about doing another Anderson fight with Chris Weidman.
Anderson can still walk.
Hey, he's back. He's supposed to be fighting again soon.
Man, can you imagine that dedication from that beating? You know,
that's how you know you love a sport. I mean, like when I was go back to looking at the statistics with injuries, skateboarding is a huge.
Oh, well, you can see that though.
Well, of course, and they were even saying that most
of them got helmets,
but a lot of people don't wear the padding. Why? In my opinion, because it's not cool.
It's not cool,
you know. But they were saying that the injury rate is so high. You have to love that to keep going out there till you get busted and busted.
Hey, look, the padding or no padding, it doesn't matter. You look at it, you see the way some of these guys land wrong or whatever. And
I've seen guys knock themselves out doing takedowns, just lifting somebody and dumping them, and they hit their head.
Yeah. You also look at it too. Now, look at it. Sometimes it's too much padding, too much equipment. I mean, Catchy has always brought up the fact that if they didn't have those helmets, they wouldn't drive into somebody because they got that false sense of security.
Yeah.
You're putting all that pressure to somebody who has spinal compression.
You're relying on this piece of plastic.
You're relying on this big piece of plastic to come in, and you're putting all that compression on your spine by going head first here. You know, you take away all that, and pretty much, you know, I might have low bone density, but other than that, we're made of the same freaking material.
Yeah, and we're all fragile in certain ways.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, hey, you might have a stronger, you know, back or whatever, but I got a stronger wrist from chopping vegetables all my life. But, you know, so either way.
That's what you want to say it's from?
Yeah, sure. Okay. And either way, you look at it, we're equal. Once you start adding pads and equipment, you know, I mean, look, you know, they're different for positions in footballs too.
Once again, I disagree because remember, the sport is the sport. Okay, when you get into the octagon and you start fighting, and you're introduced as having all these belts, you know, all these achievements in your martial arts, and then you get out there, you get into a ball and start elbowing the crap out of each other until someone bleeds more so they can submit.
Well, see, you have some fighters out there who that's their strategy. If I can cut you, fight's over.
Right.
You know, and that's it. You know, if I get a good shot, you're done. I'm not trying to knock you out. I'm just trying to cut you.
But wouldn't you agree that or maybe not, wouldn't you agree that if they had padding, like the headgear?
See, headgear is tough to work with because I've been in situations where the headgear will spin, kind of adjust, and then you're trying to, you know, fix it. And in that meantime, you could have been taken down. Could have been.
So it's technical then. Then you say if your headgear is not right, but if it was right, you would wear it. If you knew you weren't going to get that problem, it was fitted right.
He's baiting you. He's baiting you.
I'm trying to think about it because like it's a catch-22. You know,
I'd love to see two guys go in the ring, or girls now, whatever. I'm waiting for the first guy and girl to go at it. That's next. That's going to be the big one. When you got a girl who can beat the guys.
Yeah.
And some of them look like they could.
I'm sure.
if you have to have them announce what they do and get in and have that street fight, because that's what I call it, really. It's a street fight to a point of where they're actually using their stuff instead of going into the guard and going in there and waiting for the elbow. What I want to see, that's what I want to see. A guy, he's a 10th degree black belt in Taekwondo. He comes out there, he roughs the guy down. I want to see him do his thing to win the fight. I mean, is that different? Is that not MMA?
It is and it isn't. You know,
well, you know what I'm talking about. I want
Yeah.
to see that. You know, if a guy has all that,
but then you got to go back and look at the original UFCs.
right?
Because that's where you were having it, where you have the different styles versing one another.
Right.
Like I said, nowadays, most fighters are well-rounded in boxing, kickboxing,
money,
jiu-jitsu, and wrestling. You know, and that's their basic foundation. And, you know, they don't have to be a master at any of them anymore. They just have to be somewhat mediocre to make it and have the right publicity.
Yeah.
You know?
Gets the right person at the right time.
You know, there's a lot of fighters out there, especially on like the local pro circuits who, you know, they're hyped up more than what they were because they know the right people.
Right.
You know, and then you got the guys who are out there that are busting their ass, who are legit fighters, who aren't catching a break. You know, and a lot of it comes up with matching fighters against fighters. You know, who's doing what. Like, I don't want to fight this guy because it could hurt my record. You know, you have the guys out there who protect their fighters from hurting the record.
And look at it. You know, let's face it. Kashi has experience in this. You have experience in this. I don't. For me to fight you has no value for it. It has all the value in the world for me. Because if I get lucky enough to clip you and take you out and make you bleed, like you were saying, it looks great. Oh my God, he beat Steve Austin. But for you, I was supposed to win. You were supposed to kick my ass. Let's face it, you could kick my ass. I'm just a lovable, funny, plump guy. But you know, that's the thing.
See, that's why I always like being the underdog. You know, if you do well, it's good. If you don't do well, it's okay.
Show. Come on, we're not on YouTube. We're not plump and lovable on this show. badass. You know, you're good with a bat. That's your thing is the bat.
He's got his knife. He's got his knife.
I'm a chetty. All right.
He'll fillet you.
But either way, I'm saying is,
lovable.
I understand what you're saying is it's not worth the value, and they're going to protect everybody. They're going to protect it. Why? Because it comes down to product. It comes down to putting a product because nobody wants to see somebody just get manhandled. Like, I mean, bitching. Like, this brings me back to watching fights of old. Like Mike Tyson coming up, because he would just like manhandle himself.
Expecting him to win, and you didn't want to pay a pay-per-view for that.
And exactly, and nobody's going to want to see you come in and beat the crap out of me for 32 seconds until I'm actually dead. You know, because that's how long it would take. You know, it has no entertainment value. Well, maybe it does.
It's good for an Instagram video nowadays.
Exactly. That's it. 32 seconds is your average Instagram video.
15.
Yeah, whatever. Either way, it's still it doesn't have any value to your product, is what I'm saying. And let's face it, at the end of the day, it's about product. It's about what's good and what we can sell. So you would rather
see the fights last longer, like a battle?
I would like to see. I want to see that because
most people do.
And growing up, it was always the battles in the fight. Look, I was a kid.
But in order to get that entertainment value, I don't want to watch two guys in a ball on the floor.
Neither do I.
Right. Neither do I. And that's what I'm talking about.
And I'm a jiu-jitsu guy, but if I'm watching two guys and they're not progressively moving,
stand them up.
Stand them up.
Yep. But see, now here's the other thing. You know, here on the flip side, if you have two guys who are standing up that aren't engaging, do you sit them down?
No, you didn't give me a chance. You warn them. Say, look, I'm taking a point away from both of you.
Do you warn them that I'm going to do that before you get up? No, a lot of times they just stand them up.
Well, because they're clinching. There's actual action going on. They're touching skin on skin.
Maybe.
Well, no, good point. A good point.
Yeah. You know, because I want to see an active fight, regardless where it is. Now, like I mentioned Meta Morris earlier. Meta Morris is a submission only, 20 minutes. We just go. There's been a couple of them where you see the same for 20 minutes watching guys do the same thing. I can't stand that either. I don't want to watch for 20 minutes. You try one move. These guys are black belts, the top-notch, elite guys.
That's what I'm talking about.
Let's see your repertoire. Let's see your arsenal of stuff. Now, I know you got your go-to thing that you're for, but come on. If it doesn't work in the first 5 minutes, let's try something else. And it's the same thing with fighters. I want to see a nice fight, whether it's on the ground or stand up.
Yeah, I mean,
it's actually more irritating for me if I watch a bad jiu-jitsu fight. Because that's where I'm passionate about. I'm like, I can, all right, bad stand up. Okay, guy got lucky, clipped him, cool. But if I'm watching it on the ground, man, it's like,
well, because you know what's going on. To us, it just looks like,
Yeah, and there's even though there's a lot of high-ranked jiu-jitsu guys in the UFC, there's not a lot that is like the top-notch best jiu-jitsu guys in the world.
Right.
Again, you have black belts, but not all black belts are created equal.
No, they aren't.
No.
I got me a Sears robot once.
Yeah, whip that around with your bat. Doughboy.
Catch it around the other side.
Yeah, well, to me, like I said, I like the sport the way it is. When there's a good fight, and I watch it.
Mhm.
Now, when I'm bringing up not the argument, the conversation about it, based on the fact that no one talks about boxing concussions. Well, they do, but boxing is controlled to a point where once you hit a guy good, you don't wait for the blood. The ref steps in a lot faster.
You don't have.
You're dominating.
All right, let's look at most of the cuts are from elbows and knees.
Right.
Okay. And then you have the smaller gloves than the boxing. Boxing gloves, you have 16-ounce gloves. Or is it 16 or 18 ounce that they use in
16 ounce?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot of padding compared to a 4-ounce MMA glove. And that's one of the reasons why they even put the MMA gloves on, is to help not really to protect the hands, but to make the fights last longer.
Yeah, well, I can see him.
Yeah, because bare knuckles, you get caught one time, especially in the first 30 seconds, you automatically lock up. You're done.
How's that working for them?
But maybe to have a little extra padding on the glove, you would like to see. It sounds like
I want some. Well, not that I like to say. I'm just protecting the future of the sport. What's going to happen? The money's the NFL.
I'd rather take an elbow than a kick, in my opinion. I mean, you see some of the guys when they get a head kick knockout, you just watch a tree just collapse. Yeah.
And it doesn't even look like the impacts that on TV. It doesn't look that way, but
No, when you see them go down, that made contact.
I've been knocked out by a foot with a sneaker. So I know. Yeah, but I would just like to see some kind of not the protection.
You're gonna.
What's going to happen is we really don't know. We don't have
because it's an infant sport.
Right, we don't have a 50-year-old guy. We do. We do have some.
When I was looking it up, they were saying out of reported injuries in MMA, there was 300 out of 1,700 athletes that was reported, compared to some of these other ones that you're almost up into 2 million for other sports yearly. That's not just professional. That's all the way around. I think it was cycling. There's almost 2.5 million injuries a year.
2.5 million.
Whoa, you're going on what? 25, 30 miles an hour on a bike,
on a road
with other cars and other bikes.
And
raccoons.
And they were also talking about the fatigueness that some of these athletes would experience. You're getting dehydrated, passing out, things
end
like
up
that.
in a ditch.
Yeah, but and then I think
makes sense, because and a biker doesn't have medical.
I didn't think about that. I'm
you're
just
you're
man.
out on the mountains and you don't have.
Well, that's the other thing you're talking about, between mountain biking, street racing, BMXing, and things like that. Bicycling is one of the most dangerous sports you can do.
When they fall in the pack, everybody runs over you. It's known. You're getting run over, man.
Yeah.
Your head gets a wheel right over the top because they're not controlling that. So if you look at the violence in that,
it was funny. Right. One of the pictures that came with it was not funny, but it was just
funny.
It was wow. It was basically a car hitting a group of bicyclists, and I think you have 3 of them in the air, and other ones are just falling off their bikes. I was just wow, you don't have any cars driving through the middle of a ring in an MMA fight.
And you think
hope not.
You would think it's a
backyard race. MMA, maybe.
The race that they would close the course at least,
Imagine being that asshole and making a left turn when you should have went right.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to see that over the next couple of years, where you'll see these long-term injuries.
Yeah, that's it. When somebody comes back to the UFC for $1 billion lawsuit, or 2 guys, so they class action it.
You're going to see that with some of the guys from the Tank Abbott era. Even going down into those guys. He was all the one knockout punch kind of.
Yeah, that's what when they first started their thing. That's when I watched it.
Yeah.
It was a big deal. It was relatively cheap. Pay-per-view. It was $25, $30.
Yeah, but the first UFC 1 or 2 was taken off completely. It was too barbaric for live TV.
Right. And that was Octagon with gis.
Yeah.
And there wasn't the blood factor in that. It was just
the first UFC fight was that sumo versus the talk
Bundy. Who's that bull-headed guy who was fighting in the beginning?
I forget. No. It was a sumo wrestler versus he was from Greenland or some Viking kind of guy.
Yeah.
And he kicked the sumo wrestler when he fell, and teeth went flying into the crowd.
They went nuts.
No, actually, everybody was just oh shit, this is real.
Yeah, right.
What the hell did we get ourselves?
Like-
The front row is like we were in.
No,
It's not like SeaWorld Splash Zone, you know?
It's funny because with the 20-year anniversary of UFC, I think it was like last year, Ken Shamrock, they did a whole bunch of stuff, and he was talking about that. He's like, everybody's backstage hitting the pads, everybody's getting ready, and then that fight comes on, and you see that. He's like, guys are like, you saw the color just leave their face, like, what the fuck did I just get myself into? Like, I can lose my teeth in about 5 minutes. You know, like,
and that's why I get back to, well, that's why I come back. Well, you know what? The fact that it's been around 20 years now.
Yeah.
MMA, 20 years of it's
at least
20, but where it's been actually in the limelight of American TV.
Maybe like the last 10 the most.
I think when they got to
the show was what the UFC show was pretty much what brought, because they were actually going bankrupt again. That's one of the reasons why, Gracie sold it to Dana and a couple of the other buyers. That just wasn't going anywhere. And I think they bought it for like $1.5 million or something like that.
Yeah.
And now it's,
like worth 17 at least.
Maybe even higher up. I don't know.
Well, that's just like the TV rights.
Yeah, but then, like I said, they were kind of losing their fame, and then the show is what brought it back in the spotlight. And it was like any of these
TV, I think.
Yeah, it was like any of these reality shows that bring these industries into the home environment. Like the show that my wife is on for the tattoo. Most people don't know what have a very like rough stereotype with tattoos, bikers, drug gang related, and now they're bringing it into the homes. Like, hey, listen, these are people that dedicate their their lives to this, whatever it is, art, craft, whatever you want to label it, but to see what somebody will go through to succeed and try to succeed,
that's a story in itself.
It really is, and that's what most people don't realize.
It's never what it's about. It's always about the journey. You look at the shows, all your reality shows. It's never about
they like a backstory.
Exactly. It's never about what it really is. Like Survivor, it isn't that. It isn't about winning the $1 million. It isn't. Everybody thinks it is. It's the drama that to get there. It's the story that's been told.
Don't give him the check after he's done. See how much he cares about it.
No, it's the story. It's the drama.
It does help. It does help when you see somebody. You get a couple guys. I think his name is Kyle Maynard. He's a wrestler, jiu-jitsu guy, and I think he just did his first MMA fight. He has like no just limbs from elbow to shoulder and hip to knee. No hands.
I thought I recognized the name. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a motivational speaker. And he just fought for the first time in a professional UFC, and I think he won. The guy's not bad, but it's kind of hard. I mean, like when you got one guy who can take another one down, but I physically cannot take that gentleman down. Right. So now you're looking at, I give him all the credit in the world.
Change your strategy. You got to change.
Oh yeah, you got to change it up. I mean, I give everybody the props in the world for even stepping in the ring. It's one of the hardest things to do, especially knowing you have nobody behind you except yourself right now.
I can honestly say, especially the women that are fighting now in the UFC, they're hot. they're not bulldogs looking, some of them.
There's a couple out there that are a little rough.
Well, not the one that they're putting on TV. Okay, the fights I see on TV, you see these girls. They do the pre-shows, and they're family wives, and they look good, and they're built, and they have a pretty face and makeup on, and they get in the ring and they start blasting each other. Now, I don't like to see two women fight like that.
I can't watch that.
I can't watch
it's funny. My mom said the same thing. She's just like, she'll sit and watch some of the fights, and then like a female fight, and she's like, I don't want to watch that.
That's not the kind of cat fight I want to see. You know what I mean? I don't like
That's the wrong kind of video to be watching there.
Well, what last thing was my girl to have the nose.
There's special sites for that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to watch a woman have her nose put on one side of her face and not even feel
it. And honestly, sometimes I like watching the women fight. I think they're more technical.
They are. They definitely.
Because being a smaller fighter, especially myself, you have to be more technical going against guys who are going to be stronger and more athletic than you.
Now, you mentioned that there's a transgender one.
Yes.
A transgender athlete.
Fallon Fox or something like that. I was looking it up. Yeah. This is the first time. I mean, I've heard about it, but I never saw it.
How does that work?
I have no idea.
I mean,
I have to do more research on that to be able to really
thinking. I don't think that.
Well, there's somebody that shared something that's saying that Ronda turned down a fight against her. That it's not, You're
Again.
born a man. You're born a man.
Okay.
And if apparently part of that process of the becoming with the sex change is getting the testosterone taken out of you, and I don't know how you do that. I don't.
Syringe.
Where do you suck it from?
Well, here's
Because
goes
technically
back to,
they should be gone if it's a transgender.
Well, look at it like this. It comes back to what I said. There's no. Well, she was smart, Rhonda. There is no advantage.
It's a lose situation.
Exactly. There's no. So you beat a guy that's a girl now.
Well,
so
I'm
what?
just curious like I said, I'm going to do more
update for
homework. I'm just curious on it if this girl has had other fights, and if she's fought men or female. If she wants to get in and fight men, I'm all for that.
Yeah,
because you're still technically a man, whether you're snipped or not.
Hey, she's a switch hitter, man. She can right and left. If you can do it.
That's a switch hitter,
Yeah,
not switch.
Well, I'm giving.
I think that's not what he's talking about, though. Either
that's a different type of switch hitting.
You're gonna get a dog in a minute. Well, in any case, like once again, I don't, watching women beat each other, whether a half man, half woman, I don't care. It just doesn't look good to me. It's got visual effect.
Like I said, I enjoy watching some of the female fights. I think they're more technical. I also enjoy watching the lightweights fight more than heavyweights.
I always like
even though they're not like doing these like crazy knockouts, they're scrappy, man.
Even with the boxing, my father-in-law, I tell this story, it's like awesome. He's like he's a Navy guy. He was always a big boxer, big boxing. He met Dempsey, everything. He talked about that. The one thing I would come home from work and he'd have Spike TV on. He goes, I don't like this stuff. I don't think I like this.
MMA?
And MMA. I don't get it. Kicking. He's giving it the thumbs down. I look. And then he don't
Where's
turn it
George
off.
Animal Steel at?
He goes, but here's the thing. He didn't turn it off.
He still watched it.
And he goes, oh, they got him in the guillotine. It's all over now. And I'm like, how the hell do you even know the move? If you don't like it, but he knows all the moves.
Because he watches it.
Yeah, because
it's not cool.
He ended up getting hooked on it, I think. And
well, a fight's a fight. People let's face it, we like watching fights. Dana White said it perfect. If you split a room in 4 and you have different sports and you put a fight in one, everybody's going to go watch the fight. That's why people love hockey for the fights. My mom grew up watching hockey to see the fights.
It's funny. My mother, she's in the hospital. God bless her. She's doing well. But I told my wife, I said, it's funny, though, isn't it? When we were growing up, house full, I have 5 brothers and my father. We got cable because my mom wanted to watch the Flyers games. And you could hear my mom sitting in the corner going, hit him. Hit him. She's yelling more. Look back. Oh, my God. She's a Broad Street Bully. She's the first one to say the Broad Street Bullies, Baba. She was there.
She cheered them on.
Yep.
She probably dated some.
Oh, maybe. She liked that Joe Watson. She liked the Watson boys.
Steve, you going to stick around with us? You going to go?
I'll hang out for a little bit. Yeah.
All right, we're going to go take a little break here. And if we lose you on our YouTube feed, don't worry. We're coming back. I don't care what that screen says. Cash the King, Chef to the left. Steve Austin's here. This is Sports Goombahs YouTube broadcast. We will be right back after these messages. Check, check. Tomorrow, which is not an easy game. They got the Dallas Stars and at
kind of hockey we play here, you know. And I see unfortunately we have the Jerry Jones of the hockey world meddling on this team all the time, and don't expect it to get any better, because right now they're out of their league. They're not out of the league, but they're out of their league. They're not even they don't have the offensive capability of half the teams in this league right now.
I had to disagree with that because they're scoring goals. They didn't score the first game. The second 2 games, they scored goals. They were up 3-0 against Montreal and quit playing in the third period, which I liked. That helped me out. But I don't want to see that. That's not what I want to. You know, I can't watch that kind of hockey. I'm not going to watch that kind of hockey. I mean, you know, to me, I'm betting against the Flyers every time they're up right now. Goals, side goals, game totals, whatever, until they show me something. Now, a lot of, you know, Cavallier's out for 2 weeks because he's just getting old, so they're putting him out for 2 weeks. I don't care what kind of injury. Lower body injury. What, he's out his nuts? I mean, come on. What lower body injury? I mean, tell us what it is. I want to know what it is, because if he's out for 2 weeks, he's out for 4 weeks. But I don't really think he makes a difference. You know, he's not a big deal. I don't believe on this team right now. I don't think anybody's a big deal on this team. I mean, I don't see it. I don't see anything about this hockey team that gives me. And although, if you listen to the pregame shows and you listen to the postgame shows, you're gonna, you know, you might think this is like one of hockey's elite. And I don't care who they're working for. Don't sit there and show me a stinking pregame show and a postgame show of a game I just watched, and you're gonna try to tell me, oh, they put forth an effort, they were fighting. Bullshit. They can't play. They're not good enough, you know, not good enough to compete, at least on defense. But tell me that. Don't let me watch a whole game and tell me it's these Comcast clowns, you know. They're telling me what I saw was actually pretty good. I mean, come on, there's playing for the fans, and then there's working for the company. And if you're gonna work for the company, you can't play for the fans. One or the other. You know, I don't want to hear about all the happy stuff. It's like listening to Barkan yesterday after the Eagles game. You know, I was going to bring that up. Freaking Super Bowl with this guy. I mean, you know, I've had it with him. I hear, you know,
and the Gov,
and the whole. You know, I'm not into ripping people, but when I want to listen to a pregame and a postgame show, I want information. It's not that I'm bored. I'm tuning in and waiting for the game. You know, there's so many other outlets to get information from. The TV information, the pregames and the postgame shows, they got to be a little more. I need some education. I need some information. I need something to listen to. Get a bunch of guys giggling and laughing, cracking jokes, and like, you know,
like they're like. I understand you have to try to entertain. I get that, but at the same time, I don't want to see you. What do you call it? A chuckle fest? Yeah, I don't want to see a chuckle fest. I want to. And let me ask you, what are I know the specifics for a sports injury in football. They say it so they can get the line and all that. You notice that it's very general in all hockey. They don't say head injury or upper body injury, lower body. They divide it in halves. They don't really say anything. They don't say. They might say concussion-like symptoms, but that's as far as anything ever goes. But if you look at it, I mean, they're not too discreet. I'm just.
Very rarely will you hear a hockey injury update make a difference on what you're actually, what the line's going to be or anything like that. Most part. I mean, you know, hockey is 2.5 game totals, 1.5, just like baseball. There's a line put out. It doesn't make a difference in hockey. I don't think it's an odds based type of a sport when it comes to the gambling end of it. What was I talking about? I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about the Flyers in general. You know, what we have forward to watch this year. Look forward to watch. To me, it's look forward to watch to my NHL package on my computer, so I know I'll be watching some decent hockey. You know, after 11, after 10 o'clock every night.
That's okay, because I'm a night owl myself. I like watching. I watched a lot of the West Coast games last year. To me, it was more entertaining. I'm sick and tired of the scrappy players. I don't need another bumper and grinder. Yeah. I don't want that. I want somebody that can be. What do we had here in Philly? 4 or 5 guys that can score 15, 20 goals. Yeah, you know what? And there's been a lot of people that have brought that. They had 7 players that scored 20 goals last year. Yeah. What's that mean? In games what? Then games where they lost 4-2, 3-1. You know, I mean, give me something. Give me a guy. I don't care about the guy that can score 20 goals. I'll take 10 guys. I'll take 5 guys with 2 game-winning goals over that. You know, I want somebody that's gonna mean a difference in a game. I don't want goals just to rack up goals. That doesn't mean anything.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, well, Listen, I want entertainment. That's what I want. You know, I want entertainment for my money. I want entertainment to watch on my TV. I'm not looking to sit through, you know, sit through a hockey game and just wait for icing calls and get excited about shifts. You know, I don't want to hear about good shifts. And then you hear a lot about that on some of these post game shows or in between periods. Oh, they had some good shifts. I mean, what is that? Shifts. What do we talk about shifts in hockey? A good shift. A good shift scores a freaking goal or it doesn't. That's it. You know, or make some defensive plays. But I don't want to hear about it.
Sounds like something you had, but you do when you had too much fiber.
Okay.
Oh, shift. Oh, never mind. I didn't hear the F there for a second.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So, in any event, as I look at the standings, so the usual suspects are running the show again. You know, the Anaheims, the you know, Chicago and Boston, Pittsburgh. They're all 2-0, 3-1, whatever. And it's the usual teams are playing well to start. You know, so the Flyers are going to be climbing the hill. And what they'll do, they'll get lucky and get maybe the 8th spot or whatever. Or I don't know, they make another spot for hockey. I mean, I looked on the standings. There's like, what are 40 teams now? I mean, there's a hockey team in every 100 miles. There's a hockey team. It's worse than Wawa's around here, you know. But that's the NHL. I mean,
I'll bring it up to my beef and bitch again. Everybody bitches about playoff hockey. Well, no, that there too many teams make it. But proportionally speaking, and I've said this before, if they add that other team so Jerry Jones and the Cowboys can finally make it in football, make it to the playoff games again, if they add that next round, you'll have the same amount, proportionally speaking, percentage-wise, of football teams making it in the playoffs as hockey. You're only 2 teams away. So everybody that exaggerates that, you're only 2 teams away from doing that. And you know, and let's face it, I like the playoff atmosphere. I understand when you have hockey, and there are people, they're going to be people out there, Cashy, that don't watch till February, March, until the end, and they want to see who makes it, and then they get into hockey because it's like starting the whole season over again.
Right.
But let's face it, you're seeing the jockeying right now. Every game counts. Every point counts.
Well, no, what in hockey?
Yeah, it does.
No. I you know, you can make comebacks in hockey. I mean, every point counts, but I mean, it's once again, I'm not even gonna. You know, I had the Flyers out of it last year after the first 2 months, and then they came back. I mean, in hockey can change quick, especially with the April and the March and April games. But that's not even the point. I'm not. You know, anybody can make it. I mean, if they put another team in the NHL playoffs, I wouldn't care. I'd say fine. I mean, that just makes it more exciting than usual. You know, for the most part, that's what I want. I don't care. Hockey's played in the playoffs anyway. So the more teams they make the whole year a playoff, for crying out loud, if you get that kind of activity, you know. So that's my stint on that for the most part. You know, NHL. It's too early even to really talk that much about them because there's not a whole lot going on. You know, except when it comes to playing the games. We hit a couple of our hockey games this week. I told you people a long time ago. I was getting out of baseball, and I was going to just maintain my patience until the NHL came around. And starting next week, we got a new website at sportsgoombahs.com, and we should be finished that in a couple of days. And we'll have plays put up by us and some others, some articles. We'll have our YouTube show, which you're watching right now. This is our first one on video. And we hope to improve that as the weeks go on. Other than that, we'll have you able to archive these shows. You can watch them anytime you want, especially the good ones. So, anyway, the other thing going on in sports right now, it's quiet. Not the NFL, it's quiet. But I got baseball. I've been watching a little bit of the playoffs, which Kansas City is surprised. I don't even know any players on this team, but they put up a fight. They don't give up, and the young kids having a good time. And they got a 2-0 lead over Baltimore coming home tomorrow. And I wouldn't be surprised to see that go. The most that'll go 5 games before Kansas City takes this. Jumped on Kansas City after Oakland, and they went down a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. You've been riding pretty high. We were having arguments about that at work. And it's pretty hard after football starts back up to keep interested in baseball, especially when your team isn't in it. But KC, they said, who gets this one, Bay? Who gets it? And I said, KC is going to win. And they're like, what? You're crazy. I said, trust me. We've been following the guy. They ain't got the pitch, and they ain't got Baltimore's got bet. Yeah, and look where it's getting them right now. You know what was the most interesting?
15 innings the other day, 14 innings the other night.
Yeah,
I watched. That was good baseball too. I mean, it wasn't like sloppy baseball. I mean, what we saw this year.
It's a good tight game where you could sit there and get. It was a good product. It wasn't crap.
The only thing is the ratings are shot, pretty much shot. They're not. I've watched sporadically. I don't make it a point to watch.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, it's
because none of the glory teams.
Yeah, the glory team. Yeah,
the large markets. Yeah, they're not in it, and well,
I wait for the World Series and I sit back and watch that one. So I think it's going to be pretty much Kansas City and hope San Francisco. I like San Francisco because I don't know why St. Louis is there. Every year they're there. They lose players. They give away the best player in baseball and they make it to the World Series. They come out of nowhere against the Phillies in 11 and they knock them out and they make it to the World Series. And it's on and on with them. Every year they get there. That's their team. That's their management. That's their general managing. They've been good for at least 12 years. They remind me of the Atlanta Braves of the 90s, which were up there every year. But they didn't win them all, but they were up there every year because they got the pitching, the management, the farm teams. It all went real well for them. But baseball's coming to an end. I guess we'll wait for November till it starts snowing. You figure where they go now? Kansas City, weather's San Francisco, forget it. But we got that last year. That's not too bad there. But if it's in Baltimore, then we got a chance of snow, heavy winds, rain, that kind of stuff.
Didn't one of them get postponed already? One of the American League games?
Kansas City game got postponed to tomorrow. Right.
Yeah.
That's how it is. You remember back when the Phillies in what was it, 08? We had the snow, we had all kinds of weather. And ever since then, it's been pretty good. The World Series has been pretty much on schedule. And baseball World Series is good. I mean, I don't mind watching the World Series regardless of what team it is. I mean, then the media is what it is. They don't have you don't got Boston in there. You don't got a New York team. The Dodgers are knocked out. I mean, they were hoping for that LA Angel, LA Dodger World Series. That would have been a good game too. But anytime you have Hollywood involved, it's always going to be good. They'll take that to a new level for the most part. So,
Well, we had mentioned him briefly, Jerry Jones. He was, you see, I guess he's in trouble with his group of people. He said, I was instructed not to mention Johnny Manziel again.
Yeah, by his sons. Their dad, you see now.
Well, yeah.
That's it. Your time is done. It's our team. Don't ruin our situation. That's for sure. I didn't follow Jerry Jones. I didn't even in the Seattle game. I didn't even watch to see. Was he even there? I don't even know who was at the stadium.
I don't know. I mean, you were talking about. And I thought we were going to touch on it, so I figured I'd bring up the Cowboys. I mean, you touched it briefly at the show. I mean, is that who we got coming back after the bye, right?
Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
Thanksgiving.
All right.
The Thanksgiving game. The bye is Arizona.
Cardinals. Yeah. Okay. So we watched them knock off Seattle yesterday.
Well, like I said, beginning, that was a good thing. I think as many losses you can give Seattle, the better for all the other teams in the NFL, including the hometown boys here. But Tony Romo didn't make any mistakes last night. Well, he made one mistake, but the Cowboys, you know what? It's not the Cowboys. It's Seattle. Okay, they're not playing. They're playing atypical. I just won the Super Bowl football. It's what it is. It's all the hype. It's all the stuff. They're the defending champion. This is what's going to happen. Seattle's going to lose a couple more games. They're not going to have the best record this year. It's a trickle down theory. If you've been there, done that, and the NFL, it's so much work getting back to that point. Okay, so much more focus has to go into you winning that second Super Bowl. That's why you don't see it too often. It's not possible. You have to have an elite team of players to come back the next year in this NFL. Back in the Steelers days and the 49ers and the Cowboys in the early 90s, you could do that. And if you look at those teams that did repeat this, they had such good players all the way around for so many years. Every Super Bowl team loses a good player to a free agent spot because every good Super Bowl team has that player playing over his ability to get that. And that's why they got to the Super Bowl.
Well, and plus you're playing for a contract. You want to be able to make money. Right. Yeah. Well, no, that's the nature of it. Yeah.
That's my point. You got that free agent who's playing like that. And, in this NFL, you can't have more than one guy playing like that or you're going to lose both of them. And that's what happens here. I don't know exactly who Seattle lost, but I believe they lost people on the offensive and defensive line, which most people won't say, oh, big deal. Well, that's not because it's not a glamour spot and you don't know the player. It's not like Richard Sherman signed a big deal and left. That would hurt you visually, and because if you're a Seattle fan, that's your boy, that's your player. But and at this point, I just don't think they don't look like the same team. They're making mistakes. Made mistakes against Dallas. I don't think they're focused, man. They're not focused. And I can't stand their coach, man. He just runs up and down that field crying, and he's babbling in his press conference. It was freaking babbling. I was listening to him, like he's just like talking, and looking. He's like out of breath talking, like he's like he's shocked that he lost a home game again. I think to him,
you were never a big fan of him.
I hate Pete Carroll with the Jets. Yeah. Although I don't know who I like worse, him or Rex Ryan. This Rex Ryan annoys me. That's all. That's the only reason Rex Ryan. I just can't understand how that guy gets to coach an NFL team. He just does nothing with his talent every year. He had one good year. And the talent, I don't think even that year was his. It wasn't picked by him. It was a prior coach to him, which I can't forget who it was.
I can't even remember.
I keep thinking Parcells, but Parcells has been going so much longer than that. I don't remember who the Jet coach was before them, before Ryan came in there. It was bad, and he brought the team back. They made it to the NFL championship game and the AFC championship game and screwed that up.
But that was let's face it, that was Sanchez overachieving though, more than anything else.
Exactly. He got lucky, he got lucky with Sanchez and he had good wide receivers and he had a running game going. Whatever. He had players with him when he took that team over. Now he has to maintain and he can't do it, but he's living on that one season. Him and his brother both, man, they gotta go.
Living on life support too.
Yeah, I don't know if life support with the New York Jets the way they are. I mean, I think the ownership likes him. He's a goofy, funny guy. Yeah, we like him. And the Jet ownership's always been subpar. Since Joe Namath, it's been subpar for the most part. They don't win nothing. They very rarely compete, and they do. They're like Fugazi's. They showed themselves. What are they 1-4 now? Yeah, they're 1-4. They're 1-4, and they got the Patriots coming up. Well, no, they got Denver coming up, I believe. No, they just lost to Denver. They got New England coming up, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to check that. It's one of my games, actually. Come to think of it. Yeah, that's one of my games. The Jets are in New England. Good thing I'm up to par on that,
Good thing you remembered.
Yeah.
But you're speaking of ownership. Now, Bills changed owners. They got the owner of the Buffalo Sabres. Bought that.
Yeah.
And I guess Trump tweeted and weighed in on that because he just sounds like a little. I have to say, I like Don. He's funny and I think he amuses me. So I have to say, the people of Buffalo. This is Donald Trump's tweet. The people of Buffalo should be happy Terry Bagula got the team, but I hope he does better with the Bills than he has with the Sabres. Good luck. That's like saying, here's with
the hair hanging down. This guy's he said something else too. He just came up with something I saw on Facebook. It was something political, something stupid.
He also said though, even though I refused to pay a ridiculous price for the Buffalo Bills, I would have produced a winner. Now that won't happen.
So just because he had that UFFL, whatever that was, that he had the jersey, that jersey franchise that won a couple.
Did he really?
Yeah, he had two good teams out there. That was when he was younger and a little more smarter than he is now. At least Donald Trump's smart, but he just doesn't talk smart for some reason. He talks like he's uneducated and just like, I don't know, I guess he likes to talk like he's a street guy. He likes that. Yeah, actually, I think he likes to have his own little kind of slang. You know how Jesse Jackson had his own little slang. Christopher Walken has that way of talking.
Yeah.
You just.
I think it's his trademark and his hair. It's his trademark.
Yeah.
And also too, he goes. And this is kind of funny. This is something I agree with him a little bit. He said at the NFL, the games are so boring now. Actually, I'm glad I didn't get the Bills. Boring games. Yeah.
Too many. Saying this? Is Trump saying this?
Yeah. Too many flags, too soft.
Yeah. Well, so we get back into that right now. He's right about the flags. I was going to
and the soft
finish our show with ranting about that this week too. I mean, I know I talked about soft. Because Trump's not involved now. Okay, he's not subjected to or subject to any kind of lawsuits the NFL has to deal with because it has to be soft. He's not subjected to anything right now but his stupid mouth. So he can say anything he wants. The bottom line is he's not in there with the rest of the NFL owners. He's not, he's not in the meetings. He's not there. And he's not one of them. And it seems like it's a badge of honor to own an NFL football team.
Oh, you got him. You should try it. It's all the rage.
Yeah, you got dough. That's what you need to know. You got to get in the NFL. And he obviously hasn't watched some teams like New Orleans and Philadelphia who are scoring at a high rate, and Peyton Manning and you look at Manning and Brady, they're having seasons again. These guys keep getting older. I don't know about you, but Manning's getting better.
Yeah.
From when I watched him years ago and to the way he puts the ball in there and the way he does things on the field, I don't know. Give me the films back when he won his Super Bowl to what he looks like now. I think he's a better quarterback now in his mid-30s.
And I'm not even sure if he's in better shape.
I don't think he has to be. He's got such knowledge of the game and such proficient passes.
No, I mean,
I don't know a word to use for it because that's what he does.
Let's face it. He looks exactly the same. He might have put on a little bit of a muscle mass here and there, but like his stature, you see him. He's got. I don't want to say it's just weird. I think he actually might be better because when you get neck injuries like that or back injuries like that, you tend to work yourself around to strengthen your core, your body core. Like I'm sure Steve would have, if he was still here, he would have told us that you strengthen your core. So inevitably, you might be heavier, but you're actually more fit.
Right.
And I think if you look at him, I want to say body immature because he was young, and like even though we're seeing it more players lasting longer and playing into their late 30s. Some NFL players, NHL players are playing into their 40s.
Right.
Baseball players too. We're seeing it. They're just taking better care of themselves.
I don't think, first of all, let's put it where it is. These guys have not been hit that much in their league compared to most quarterbacks in their whole career.
Peyton's taking a beating a little bit
he's taking
this year.
Now.
Yeah.
I'm talking about what got him to this point. Okay, he was well protected in Indianapolis for years. You never saw him going down. At least you didn't see him enough for him to make the highlight reel. Same thing with Brady. These guys don't hit the ground too often, and that makes a difference in your career. And at this point, where they're at, their knowledge for the game is so much better than the talent they have for the game. That's what it is. They know what to do. It's just, the sense is not even second sense. It's a part of their. Manning's a football. He's like Chip Kelly is too. He looks like they eat, drink, and think football. And there's nothing else but football. But the whole idea is that you have these two quarterbacks who aged and got better. I mean, is Brady better than he was before? I mean, it looks like he is. I mean, some of the passes they're making are so much better than what I can remember them throwing up to the town. I think they're both doing it with less talent.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at, and that's what that was what I was leading to. I see better arm strength. Maybe it's just better accuracy. You get better at your craft naturally if you're going to throw the ball. It's funny that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, anyway,
I distracted you. I'm sorry. We got on the debate, Matt, and you were talking about flags.
What are you talking about? What was I talking about? Flags?
Flags and penalties.
Flags, 24-14, San Francisco's over St. Louis right now. That was 14-7 at one point. St. Louis, what are you going to do with them? Just like the Philly. That St. Louis is just a pretender. They'll play football with you for a couple quarters, but little by little, you'll start to go down to them. Jeff Fisher always got a defense. That's one thing. He's always got some kind of defense going. Can't seem to put anything together on offense since that Tennessee team, back in the early 2000s. He's always been struggling for quarterbacks. They lost their quarterback this year, I think. He was out in the preseason.
Davis is in now.
He's the quarterback. You know that is Davis.
Exactly.
It's Davis. Don't worry about it. It's Davis. He'll take care of it. So anyway. Still
got some time left. Give us a call.
Don't bother giving us a call. The phone don't work.
Oh, never mind.
No commercials, no phone. Sports Goombahs radio webcast, whatever to call it now. We'll be live every week. And at this time on this channel, on the YouTube channel. So, this is easy. No more Mixler. They're out. They're gone. They're done. Finished. A couple of people I want to thank, before we send off right now. Of course, Serpro at Doylestown. They've been with us since day one and to this point to getting on actual video. And also Apple Public Adjusters, Seal Roofing. People couldn't get their ads in there with trendbetting.com as well as bestsportspickstoday.com. Resnick Plumbing has been around for us since we started this. And, of course, us, thesportsgoombahs.com. I am Cashy the King. Got my chef to the left. Steve Austin had to slip out because he didn't realize what time it was, that he had to be someplace, so he couldn't stick around for the next session. And we hope you join us next week at 9 o'clock. Same deal, same situation. Cash the King, chef to the left, Sports Goombahs webcast live here on YouTube. We will catch you next week.